Think about it. What's made America so special? Here in America, everyone must be treated with dignity and respect, and hate must have no safe harbor. Here in America, we need to get out of our silos, where we only listen to those with whom we agree, where misinformation is rampant, where foreign actors fan the flames of our division to shape the outcomes consistent with their interests, not ours. Let's remember, here in America, while unity is the most elusive of all goals right now, nothing is more important for us now than standing together. We can do this. You know, from the beginning, our founders understood the power of passion. So they created democracy that gave reason and balance a chance to prevail over brute force. That's the American we must be. An American democracy where arguments are made in good faith. An American democracy where the rule of law is respected. An American democracy where decency, dignity, fair play aren't just quaint notions, but living, breathing realities. We owe that to those who come before us, to those who gave their lives for this country. We owe that to ourselves. We owe it to our children and our grandchildren. Look, let's never lose sight of who we are. Let's remember we are the United States of America. There is nothing beyond our capacity when we do it together. So God bless you all, and may God protect our troops.
Okay, so I know that you guys might not agree on a lot of things. Welcome, Joseph. But I think probably universally right now, you all need something to settle your stomachs. Tums?
Yeah, I couldn't help initially to notice that the whole time he was looking off to his left reading the teleprompter. I remember when, they gave good, strong statements and they looked at the camera, but he's squinting and reading. So, that took away from it. And
Why
of course,
would he be looking to the left, though? Because if you have it, like teleprompters are mounted on the camera so that it looks like you're looking into the lens when you're reading off a prompter.
A good prompter is.
Yeah.
I can't answer that, but he was reading off of the left. And of course, the minute you plug Joseph in, I took a look at that woman doing the sign language, and I do not know sign language in the least little bit. But all I could think about is the last show I was on with him and how I would like to interpret what she was doing, I started laughing, and it was inappropriate at the time.
That's the sign language for taxation.
Yeah, okay.
See, that's what a prompter looks like. It has special glass on the front, and then they put it like it has reversed text, and then it reflects up onto a mirror, and then it is the right way around to read, and then the camera is mounted behind that hood thing, and it shoots through the reflective glass. I know, because I actually made one for the studio here. I don't have it set up, but I made one a long time, a homemade one, and it shoots through it.
That's a good news studio prompter. Yeah. But candidates usually use that glass prompter.
That's when they're giving speeches. That's true. Yes. Yeah. But that's because they don't have a camera mounted in front of them. They have to do this to the audience. And what they do is they have, because I've seen this too, covering so many news conferences and events, but they have the same script running on multiple prompters, usually to the left and the right, and there's sometimes one in the middle, and then they can look either direction and still pick up the prompter. But in the White House, it's a camera mounted in front of a desk, and he just reads off the prompter, unless they're idiots and they mounted it to the side.
Idiots. Yeah, and he wasn't doing a very good job of reading it either. I mean, it was again
screwed it up.
Stumbling, mumbling, fumbling. He had time to rehearse that speech, but yet that's what we got.
Yeah, gentlemen, he's the former Trump. Did you hear him say that? He's the former Trump.
He's the former Trump. Gentlemen, do you think when he said period, he was just reading like the period in the speech?
and and we know former Trump. What he actually meant was former Putin, president of Ukraine.
That's right. I told you, man, this whole thing, it's just a conspiracy involving a giant cabal trying to take over the world with the help of Pinky and the Brain. I told you at the beginning of the broadcast.
And Pinky and the Brain are in cahoots with the lizard people, and they brainwashed this guy so that he would shoot President Trump through MK Ultra.
Yes, using his AK-47. Joseph, what was your initial reaction? Again, it's one of those moments when in history where you always remember where you were when you found out or heard the news. So share your experience yesterday when you learned of this.
My focus ever since the event has been trying to tamp down the nuttiness, I dropped a piece on Before It's News pretty much right after or early today. How about we stick with 100% verifiable facts? They are enough of the Trump assassination attempt. We don't need to add on nuttiness. It's not needed. But yet, like I say over and over, there are QAnoners, and I'm happy to be part of the QAnon or Q Army crowd, but there are also QAnutters that, X and Y would suffice, but no, they don't even only go to Z, they go off the English alphabet entirely.
That's because the Russians are involved and they have 32 letters in their alphabet.
No. It's Israel or Israel. See, just ask trigger warning. It's either Israel or Israel. It's not Russia.
Of course, I've seen plenty of that. It's the Jews, of course. And one thing that was killing me, I wrote it down. Matthew Crooks, speculation, what ifs, conjecture, innuendo, right? Off the wall stuff. It's okay to mention it as long as we're clear that's what we're dealing in here. And one nut indeed said Matthew Crooks isn't actually the shooter. His handle is Jew gazing on X, and you can see him still tweeting. So it may be another Matthew Crooks or whatever, or somebody, doing whatever now, but they claim it's a Maxwell Yarick, and indeed showed a mugshot of him at prior violence at a Trump rally. It's like,
The actual Matthew Crooks was taken by submarine to Argentina, where he was unloaded.
By the CIA, as
by the CIA
is telling us right here.
And he's living in Hitler's house with him.
Exactly. All this, can we stick with the known stuff?
No,
now,
we can't.
I don't expect the Secret Service and FBI, JTTF, and marshals and BATF, because supposedly there were explosives also in his car, to have a press conference every 90 minutes to talk about the latest 90 minutes of social media nuttiness. I want them indeed doing the real work of, are there other co-conspirators still potentially running around? They don't have time to come on like I am with you to shoot down all this nuttiness every 90 minutes. It's a whole new set of nuttiness.
And Kevin, I mean, you've got expertise in the area of propaganda, so I mean that in a positive way. Okay, so I mean, this is damaging, I think, to the country. It's this chaos that is created because of all the conspiracy theories that this kind of thing generates, and it just comes as part of the package automatically now when you have I'll call it an incident, but an assassination attempt like this, what does it do to a country?
It pulls the country apart. And this is what people don't realize. I had this discussion with a young man earlier over here in Russia who made an inappropriate joke, in my opinion. And he says, well, it was just a joke. And I says, but what you posted, many people looked at it and they said, really? What do you mean? And then it got propagated, and all of a sudden you're seeing it all over the place. And people look at it, they see it, their perceptions are skewed, and people don't seem to be understanding that every piece of information you take in, if you don't realize that you're being fed a lot of bull crap and you need to figure out what to throw away, it changes your perception. This is why the Department of Defense calls it perception management. So when they put stuff out, they're trying to get you to think a certain way. Now, like Joseph said, what's going on here? They don't have time to be trying to spin all this stuff or throw the garbage out, but you'll see the spin coming out like Biden. I'm not saying he wasn't sincere in what he said.
I'll say that.
Yeah, I'll second it.
Yeah,
Motion
that's
approved.
fine. I'm just using it as a point. It was
Yep.
meant to steer perception in a particular way.
Of course.
I'm not
Yeah.
at fault, knowing perfectly well that Trump supporters, MAGA supporters, are going to start pointing at it and saying, see, it's the Democrats. Biden tried to have him assassinated. They indicted him, they arrested him, they took him to court. They haven't been able to do anything else, so now they're going to try to shoot him.
Brendan, I will say this, Brendan, that Sebastian Gorka video, as much as I agreed with some of the things he was saying, I found it to be sort of passive aggressive, so that he was sort of ramping up the emotions on the MAGA side, so that he was pumping up the bass on an emotional level too. He wasn't dialing things down at all. What was your take on it?
Well, I would actually like to take a moment to respond to old Joe.
Sure.
Joe Biden should have made this speech years ago, to be honest.
Absolutely.
As
Yes.
soon as he got in office, he should have been trying. He always said, we're going to sow the divide in our country in his inaugural speech. He should have made a lot of these statements from day one, but he didn't. It was like 2 days ago, he was talking about putting a bullseye on people's heads. This is absolutely sick. It's your party that has fanned the flames of this whole entire thing. You guys need to get yourself under control. Get yourself under control.
Yeah, Brendan, I made that note right here. Remember years ago, Sarah Palin was calling for the assassination of Democrats by using a red bullseye symbol, a symbol that both parties had used decades upon decades to mean politically target. And Joseph Robinette Biden, just 4 or 5 days ago, used the exact same verbiage: target Trump. So if Trump is responsible for January 6th, Biden needs to be arrested and charged with incitement of violence on the assassination attempt to Trump. It got to go both ways.
Yeah, and getting back to what you had asked me about the Sebastian guy there, people are going to be really angry. I don't know that guy. I'm not familiar with him, so I don't know how much rage bait he's always putting out there. But we need to at least.
He's a Trump insider, part of the the inner circle of Trump. He was there with the Trump administration. He was a regular on. I think he was on Rush Limbaugh quite a bit when Rush was alive. He's a conservative. For sure, and a live streamer, podcaster, but mostly he's a political figure on the,
So-
the MAGA side. Yep.
Sounds like he might have had. It sounds like he may have had a legitimate reason to be upset if he's an inner circle person, and now somebody tries to kill his friend and associate. Like if somebody took a shot at my friend, I'd be pretty upset too. But
Sebastian Gorka used to be a somewhat reasonable, level-headed, deal it down the middle kind of person. But of late, I don't pay any attention to him on truth and all that. He's just a hyperbolic clickbait sharer.
Is he? I haven't been paying attention. He's changed?
Yeah, he's just way over the top. It's like the QAnutter thing that I mentioned. Taking everything instead of X, you got to take it to Z or off the English alphabet entirely. It's just there's no need to do that when the reality is enough. And you look stupid, in my opinion, Sebastian, when you go so far as going overboard like that. You lose your own credibility in doing that and being hyperbolic all the time. Now, even Trump, though, right? I had this conversation with Trump lies, Trump lies, Trump is a celebrity. He is a TV personality. He has always engaged in hyperbole, but it is usually like exaggerating a crowd size. That's hyperbole, not really a lie. It's still rooted in a basis of reality, as opposed to what Biden says all the time, the Charlottesville lie, the this lie, the bleach lie, this lie, that lie, just no basis in reality whatsoever. So should Trump tone things down and stop the hyperbolic nonsense? Yes. But that's kind of his personality. It's a big difference than an outright lie that's complete delusion.
Well, no, Joseph. This wouldn't be a good show if I didn't disagree with you on something. I don't think Joe Biden is actually lying. I think it is just, his dementia. And what did they diagnose him with recently? Early Parkinson's. So I think it's just he doesn't remember things straight. So does that make it a lie or does it make it forgetful? I don't know.
I can give him a little grace on that, but people are feeding him the lines to continue to say, and he willingly repeats them, even though they.
Exactly.
You can see the Charlottesville Department of Transportation presser for yourself, beginning to end. I'm amazed YouTube still has it up. It's there. You can see it. And he says 3 times, I am not talking about neo-Nazis or white supremacists, but yet they peddle the lie. He is saying there are fine neo-Nazis. Out and out lie.
At 81, I wouldn't call it early Parkinson's.
It's kind of late. Yeah. No,
late onset Parkinson's.
I know someone that died at age 45 of Parkinson's. So, it is a horrible thing. My mother had dementia for like 10 years, 10, 12 years she lasted. We were amazed she lasted that long. She passed just a few years ago. So, I mean, anyone who's ever dealt with these things can see it. I mean, you don't have to be an MD, and I'm not here to play one on TV. It is just so obvious.
And here's this letter from Melania Trump. The language. There's no way she wrote this herself. The language that they're using here, it's and let us remember that when the time comes to look beyond the left and the right, beyond the red and the blue, we all come from families with the passion to fight for a better life together while we are here in this earthly realm. I'm like, nope, she didn't write that.
No, but it fits her her persona, the
Right.
the foreigner, foreign born, right,
The
outsider.
heavenly and angelic Melania Trump of this earthly realm, swirling around, watching over President Trump. Like, this is the image that I'm getting from the flowery language that they used for this. But at least, there was wording in there that tried to dial things down a little bit.
Somebody was watching out for.
What's her original language? Maybe it would come across better if it were released in her original
Romanian?
language. I don't remember where she's from originally, so I'll have to take your word for it, Brendan.
It would have been something like Tovarish. Excuse me, Tovarish.
Yeah. She's from
This is the same Melania Trump who said she will not go to Washington if Trump is reelected. So yes, she did not write that. So hey,
politics.
I would be remiss, Rick. Actually, I'm going to call you on this one for being remiss. You didn't once ask me tonight what is being said about this in Russia.
I was going to go there. In fact, I was going to, in my head, which, I had a Biden moment. I was going to start the program kind of like that. I want to know what the Ruskies are saying about it.
And I would love to stick around for this, but I actually have to jet, and I just wanted to say thank you so much for having me. It was great to be able to talk about these things, and God bless everybody. We'll see you later.
Thank
Brendan,
you,
Brendan. As long as it's a green jet. So
green.
Yeah, what solar panels on the wings?
Yeah.
And
Brendan,
enjoy the rest of your weekend enjoy the rest of your weekend with your kidlets there, Brendan.
I shall. Take care, everybody.
All right. Okay, see you, man.
See you, bro. So
yeah, go ahead.
The general public is pretty much like the general public in the United States. Biden is trying to eliminate Trump. Things like that. Putin did make an official statement that he had made a call to Trump and didn't get him, but that he wishes him a speedy recovery and gives his condolences to the family of the killed and injured man. But of course, we have to go to the Lindsey Graham of Russia, Medvedev, who his official statement is he is confident that Donald Trump will be reelected in November if they don't.
Sorry, your audio cut out there, Kevin. If they don't what? Your audio.
If they don't assassinate him first.
Right. I mean, Putin, would you expect anything less, really? I mean, pure good diplomatic language you would expect. Now, what are the Ayatollahs saying? They're the ones who will speak their mind.
Well, I am looking.
They're probably all in the streets protesting that he missed, right?
And I did look at headlines on some Russian news outlets earlier today, and I'm just checking again here. The headlines are on Sputnik, Trump shooting complicates matters for struggling Biden campaign. And another story, was Trump put in a bullseye? Photos, Donald Trump survives assassination attempt. Moscow says U.S. financed Ukraine's plot to assassinate Putin. So it's like,
yeah. Well, it was all staged. It was actually a blood tablet behind the ear with an exploding device.
I had some
blood.
people suggest
Did you see
last
that?
night. Yeah.
Did you see that? Yeah, that's one of the nuttinesses around the internet. It's like, oh my God. Now, there is legitimate questions, obviously. That perimeter shouldn't have been where it was. And Rick Grinnell was on Newsmax earlier, and I agree wholeheartedly with him. Speculations, what if, some of these questions are legitimate. And I think it is legitimate to ask the DEI wokeness. How far has that gone into the Secret Service? The woman that was 5'4", okay, my ex-wife, 5'4". I have no problem with a woman being on the Secret Service details, but it is stated, I don't know if true or not, again, speculation, conjecture, hearsay, that she was kicked from the Kamala detail for some reason and landed it up on this. Now, she can be wanding people coming in. I have no problem with a 6-foot Amazon woman being in the Secret Service, but I don't care if you're 5'4", female or male. That seems like a DEI hire. You should not be on a presidential or candidate detail. You need to be 6 foot to tower over the people you're the protectorate of. You can't, you look at her next to Trump there was a clear line of shot over her to Trump because she was not of the right stature to be involved at that degree as the direct protectorate of a candidate. And then there's the whole RFK Jr. still being denied, because I wouldn't be surprised if they don't try and kill him also, because again, he's likely in this scenario to pull more from Biden than Trump that could cost Biden some states. So, Biden, you need to get detail on RFK Jr., even though he can't conceivably win the presidency, he can and will affect this election.
What do you think, Kevin?
I said it earlier. Brendan said it earlier. She was a little short to be protecting Trump. She did her job. She protected him, but when you require another agent to put his arm up to cover the area between the top of her head and his head, she was a bit short for that detail. Does it make her unqualified? Yeah.
I don't care if that were a male that was 5'4". There has to be standards, and to be a direct protectorate like that, you need to be at least 5'10". I would prefer a minimum of 6 foot. And again, my ex-wife, 5'4", was in pretty good shape. Still cannot compare and stand up, even if in good enough shape, to a 6 foot male who then has extra leverage on that person. So she can be doing all kinds of duties, but should have been nowhere near that stage in that capacity.
So this is
I just wanted to say this, Vaughn. Sure. If this was a man, we would be saying the same thing. If there was a 5'4" man standing there, he did not belong on that detail.
I said it twice already. Absolutely. 5'4", you've got to have minimum requirements. A 5'4" male or female, again, can be standing at the gate, wanding people into an event. No problem. Can be wandering the perimeter with a walkie-talkie with eyes on things that somebody should have seen that guy climbing up the building, or a drone, or a helicopter.
I've been to a Trump rally. There was pretty substantial security, and this is back in 2016, back before the pandemic. And, metal detectors, everybody going in and out, bags checked. I really enjoyed the body cavity search. Well, we didn't go quite that far, but there was pretty serious security. And yesterday, as I'm watching this, people are being very critical, but I did see cops in, armor or Secret Service or whoever they were, walking around with their guns. They were on the stage immediately, kind of all over the place. Yeah. They were up on the roof of buildings. Now, I did get this sort of diagram map aerial shot, and that building where the shooter was located, it is actually substantial distance from the stage. Obviously not a highly accurate sniper, but not a bad shot at all. When you look at the distance involved, he's way over here on the left, right?
Yeah, the red box.
Yeah, quite a distance from the crowd, from the area. It would have been those buildings right behind that would have been the ones of most concern to the Secret Service as they were surveying the area to prepare for the event. Obviously not paying enough attention, I guess, to that building way over there.
Yeah, that's still a clear line of sight that needed to be dealt
from the front. Yeah, from the front too.
Yeah, and like I seen the actual plan for this operation. Maybe they felt that they had a clear enough line of sight to that building from their vantage point. I think it's a pretty weak excuse, and but these are the things that'll come out in the investigation of this, hopefully.
And that's another one of the conjectures, speculation, the conspiracy nuttiness is supposedly, I'm not even going to give the name, but they claim was the Secret Service guy, had him in his sights, could have taken him out, but he was told to stand down until after the shot. Then he was authorized to take him out. It's like, that's nowhere on the news. Now, real or not, I don't know. Again, not nuttiness we need to engage in right now.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I went to a couple of rallies in 2016 as well. And, people say, well, why didn't people run? Why weren't they trying to get out of there? Once you're in, you aren't getting out again. You're locked in that secured area. So, I didn't go through a body search either, but it was pretty invasive considering I was known. So,
and again, well, the difference here is they could have run out of the risers, but that shot came from so far away. It's not like Sirhan, in the pantry there with a revolver that close, and those pops are clear gunshots. Those pops could have been easily confused, and indeed some eyewitnesses did give the usual, we thought it was fireworks thing, right? Because those pops came from so far away, it's not obvious they're gunshots.
Can I get you to comment on this, Kevin? Because some people were saying that, the Secret Service, they're not even changing, what they're doing because of this, blah, 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 blah. This was a news conference held yesterday, Secret Service, or I believe it was yesterday, or maybe it was earlier today. But anyway, they're talking about preparations for the Republican convention this coming week, next week. And indeed, they say they're not changing their plan, but, I'll let them explain.
I have not had any conversations regarding that, so I can't speak to that.
Is the Secret Service currently anticipating or currently planning to expand the perimeter?
We're not anticipating any changes to our current security footprint or plan.
Including allowing firearms into the soft perimeter as it is right now?
Anything in the soft perimeter is outside of our federal jurisdiction.
But why should former President Trump, his family, and the convention goers have confidence in the U.S. Secret Service to secure this site here over the next 4 days after his life was nearly taken yesterday in Pennsylvania?
So this event has been designated as a national special security event, which is the highest level of security for an event that can be designated by the government. So this is a whole of government approach. We've had an extensive planning process to include many organizations building out the operational security plans for any and all aspects of security related to this event.
Have you had the resources you need?
Yes, we are fully prepared and have a comprehensive security plan in place, and we're ready to go.
What I'll comment on this is what I started with about this particular rally. The planning for this stuff, the operational plan, starts weeks ahead of time. They have surveilled the area. They have contacted outside law enforcement agencies, and we don't know what their operational plan is for this convention. So is there a need to change it or not? We don't know, and we won't know. So we can't really criticize them for saying they aren't going to make changes because we don't know what they would be changing.
I agree with you there, but to go back to the DEI thing, the problem here is you're only good as the weakest link. And we know the last 20 years plus, the deep state, the insider, the woke agenda, DEI dumbing down every iota thing in government. And that's the problem. We got a lot of weak links around that are the problem here, not the overall Secret Service as a whole.
Yeah.
Just like the FBI, right? A lot of good people in the FBI too. A lot of scumbags there too. Same with all the agencies.
Yeah. And we don't know the quality of the people they're using in these outside agencies. They're using who they're given. Like she says, that's out of federal jurisdiction if it's outside the secured area. One thing I was going to say earlier when I said I was at a couple of those Trump rallies is it surprised me that he doesn't have his own private security with him anymore. Maybe he does somewhere around there. Maybe the Secret Service has booted all of them out. But I remember at those rallies in 2016, he had Secret Service protection, but he also had private security. I'd have a little more confidence in them too.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you want surround yourself with some former Navy SEALs or whatnot.
Yeah.
Exactly. And right, again, all there is a lot that goes into this, but the weak links, we don't know the weak links until something happens and it's identified.
So Kevin,
and then it's easy to point at it and say they failed. So,
and Kevin, what do you think about the RFK Jr. situation? I mean, they've been asking for Secret Service protection for many, many months. Denied. Do you think they'll give it to him now?
This is my personal opinion. I have no direct knowledge of this, no facts. I don't think they will give him protection. I think they have hamper his running as much as they could for a long time. And, even though they gave other lesser candidates Secret Service protection, they didn't give it to him. I see no reason they will give it to him now. The whole sexual harassment thing that's come out, this just all has the taste of, eliminating a candidate from it.
It has the taste of dog all over it.
Dog what? Are you making
Well, yeah.
Well, we know it's not goat. Again, Tom Brady's still walking around.
Come on, you guys know that he's got a real soft spot for canine. He's got a very sophisticated palate.
Yeah, I don't know, Rick. That's a real pile of crap.
But in all seriousness, we all see why they need to give it to him. But yeah, I agree with Kevin. They will not admit that it has to happen. They don't care. And if something happens, the blood of RFK Jr. will really, really, really be on their hands.
Joe Brandon says Putin's giving a speech right now. I don't know.
Is he? I don't know.
I don't know too.
Well,
yeah, and this whole thing complicates the Democrats, the Fascocrats party, as I call them, overall problem. I said before on your show, I gave it a 60-40 that Biden would stay. I think it's down or up. His chance of staying is 75-25 now, because this all is now additional deflection and distraction from their inner turmoil. He gets to hang on a little easier and longer, and the further this goes, the tougher it is to replace him. But I still say there's 25% chance, because we all know rules for thee, not them. They don't care about the law or the Constitution or the party rules or the state laws. They will ignore the state laws, just like happened in 2020.
Sorry, guys, I'm a little out of the mix here because I'm looking for something. So I'm gonna defer to you talk. You guys talk.
I gandered for Trump being live right now. I don't find it. Somebody asked Joe Brandon what channel he's on, and he said he isn't on a channel. So I don't know how you find him on a channel if he's not on a channel.
Maybe there's a live stream of it somehow, somewhere.
Yeah, I don't find it on YouTube, so. But not saying it's not there.
Again, it's part of the whole. There's so much information that may just be made up out of whole cloth. Maybe it's a deep fake, like all the Biden falling up the stair videos.
Yeah, he says, "I'm sorry it was yesterday." So it's probably the official statement that you
mentioned before, right?
Yeah. So
yeah, deep fake, just like when Biden fell over on his bike. Fake, you didn't see it. The debate, it was a deep fake. You didn't see it live with your own eyes.
Of course, what we need to know is what's the motivation behind this this shooting. We still don't know. And here's a clip of one of the classmates of Thomas Crooks.
He was bullied almost every day.
In what way? Can you explain?
I mean, he would sit alone at lunch. I mean, he was just an outcast, and you know how kids are nowadays, so they're gonna see someone like that and they're gonna target him because they think it's funny or whatever. So it's the best way I can describe it. And it's honestly kind of sad. Like, I don't want to say this is what provoked it, but you never know.
Yeah. You said he was a loner?
Yeah. I want to say he was a loner more because he was quiet, but like he was just bullied. Like he was bullied so much.
This is high school.
Yeah.
What did they, do you remember at all what they said to him or called him?
No. He was just made fun of, I guess, for the way he dressed or his appearance.
Well, it goes back to the Columbine and all that, right? We try to poo-poo all the bullying stuff, and at times pretend it ain't happening so they don't have to do anything about it. And in other cases, they go overboard and do too much about it.
And so, and Kevin, the investigators are saying they're treating it as a case of, they're investigating it as domestic terrorism. So what do you think? Where's this going?
I don't know. We will probably never know the true motives because they killed him. We can come up with some ideas by talking to people like his high school classmate that remembers him being bullied 3 years ago. But somebody in the comments says that they don't remember what they called him, but he knows he was bullied. So, what car he drove 5 years ago may play into it, but it may not. Labeling it as domestic terrorism. Yeah, I mean, this would be typical as a federal offense, but who are, all it really means in this case is they're going to be investigating if there was anyone else involved, what his motives may have been, but it's all going to be speculation.
But see,
Nothing
if
but
they're calling it
speculation.
domestic terrorism, if it's terrorism, that suggests that it's he's motivated by some radical political ideology or religious
The
reason, right?
pro-Palestine group.
Something, right? So it's not just him being nuts. If it's terrorism, it's because he's motivated by something. But
well, it's
at the same time,
speculated
and
he's pro-Hamas terrorist.
I don't know. If he's just a lone wolf, then that's not terrorism.
I think there's
what,
logic
Kevin?
in what you're saying. Yeah.
What does them coming out to me? What that says is it's a political thing when they're calling it domestic terrorism, unless they come out with very specific evidence to support that. It's like they're already trying to spin this like it's white neo-Nazi something, or something like that. That's the way, radical right, far right, crazy guy. But he's shooting at Trump, which doesn't make sense. I don't know. I don't quite get it.
Unless if there's a manifesto like
Kevin?
the trans shooter.
Yeah, well, let's go with the actual definition that the FBI uses for domestic terrorism. It is an act that is dangerous to human life or potentially destructive of critical infrastructure, key resources, and is a violation of the criminal laws of the United States. So, they go on and they say an act that should also appear to be intended to intimidate or coerce a civilian population, to influence the policy of a government by intimidation, or affect the conduct of a government by mass destruction, assassination, or kidnapping. So you could throw this under the assassination thing. You could throw it under, was he doing it to intimidate Trump voters, anti-MAGA, so we could go with that definition with lots of different things, but reality is we don't know why they're calling it that.
At least not yet.
Yeah.
But what you said, Rick, about lone wolf makes sense, but that's a little bit of common sense in there. Like Kevin said, under the broad definition, they could call anything domestic terrorism if they want. But indeed, I mean, it's a political assassination, obviously meant to hopefully, you would think it's got to, why would you do it? You want to influence an election. I mean, that is in a way terrorism, to terrorize people into acting a
but the
different
way also
way.
that the choice of wording, the charges that are actually like if you come out and state publicly as an investigator or as a law enforcement agency that this is terrorism, that gets into a different category than just somebody who's mentally unstable or whatever. And I've seen it so many times here in Canada where this particular crime is an act of terrorism, but this one, because it's committed by somebody from a different demographic group, that's not terrorism. So it depends, how they want to spin this stuff. There's, I think, prejudice and politics and policy, even unwritten policy that comes into play when these kind of investigations are conducted.
But let's keep in mind that they're investigating it as domestic terrorism. So they are taking into account the claims that, The deep state is behind it. The Biden administration's behind it. It's anti-MAGA people behind it. It's overzealous Biden supporters behind it. We don't know what the kids' was. So if they investigate it like that, it doesn't mean that in the end they're going to come out and say, yep, it was domestic terrorism. We don't know enough right now.
Right. We are still too early on, which is the reason I'm glad you invited me on, Rick. Because again, that Before It's News piece that I wrote, can we please stick with the facts? Or, as we have, if we're dealing in speculations and what ifs, and you can do that at times, it makes sense to do that at times, but you have to be clear that this is a speculation. There are no facts or evidence yet to back this up as assured reality.
And I was going to say,
far too many are going off the hook.
And I was going to say, that foreign governments will, foreign government agencies involved in propaganda and psyops and so on, they can use this kind of thing to sow seeds of doubt, cause disruption. But it seems to me they don't really need to do anything because the public has such an appetite for this stuff, for conspiracy theories, that people are doing it to themselves at this point. It's become this this feedback loop of conspiracy theory that people just revel in. It's bizarre. It's so negative and destructive.
Yeah. Again, the QAnoners who want an honest search for truth and seeking evidence in like Pizzagate and that versus the wild speculation and idiocy of that one pizza parlor, as opposed to the QAnoners that just keep going.
Kevin?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think telling people how they're investigating it helps the cause at all. It plays into it. Is there some motivation behind it? I don't know. I'm not involved on the spin team on this one, but I guarantee there's a spin team on this one.
On all sides. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and with that being said, I'm thinking that this is another milestone in history that an event, a crime that a conspiracy maybe we may never know the truth simply because so many seeds of doubt have already been sown. So it won't matter what facts come out, what evidence is shown. They can show us everything, and people will just sit there and say, but they're still hiding something, or that's not true, blah, 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 blah. And because you've got all these different conspiracy theories circling around the truth, people never get to the core and find out what the truth really is, just like the JFK assassination, 9/11, and you name any of the others. But I'm afraid that we may already be there less than 24 hours later, and it's only taken 24 hours, and we'll never know the truth because people are so invested in the lies.
Yeah, the very first thing I heard about this yesterday for me was that it was the CIA because Trump announced he was going to release the JFK files. Reality is even if Trump releases the JFK files, the conspiracy theory people won't believe it. They will say, well, it's not the total thing. It was fabricated before it was released. It just, it's an ugly cycle.
Yeah. Well, guys, it's getting up near to the top of the hour. I'll just throw it first to you, Joseph, and then to you, Kevin, for some final thoughts to wrap up tonight.
I think we, like we try to do on your show, try to deal level-headed. we did indeed go off into some speculations and what ifs. And again, that if you're trying to do it in an earnest and real fashion to try to dig to some reality, it's a good thing, as long as we did say this is speculation and separating it. The problem is the runaway trains on the internet of people just throwing things out there without any warning or even implying this is potentially hearsay. So and so said, I have no idea. I am letting you know I heard this. I may or may not believe it. This is speculation. No, they're putting this crap out as if a Secret Service guy came out and said this. Yeah, there's no way to confirm or deny it, but it's out there as supposed fact, not speculation.
Yep. So, as a final thought, I'm actually going to answer Robert Brand here because this came up on a stream I was on earlier. The Simpsons prediction of this several years ago. You know, you can go into the past and take anything and say, look, they predicted this. Reality is if you go back to Nostradamus and you read him, you can find that he predicted this too. You know, if you dig into the Bible, you can find that the Bible probably predicted this. Get your heads out of this stuff and put it aside. You know, cartoon characters, the whole bit of, you know, I made this statement then too. Cartoon characters are not factual beings. They're not live people. They're scripts written by somebody. And the answer I got was, well, you know, the mainstream media, Hollywood, they communicate with each other. Biden proved it by saying they were going to target Trump. You know, if you take Biden's statement about targeting Trump in context, he was talking about focusing on Trump during the campaign. It had nothing to do with shooting him. They do not have some secret code book that they use over television. You know, get this goofy stuff out of your minds. Look at the facts. If you want to speculate, do what we did here. We told you, this is speculation. This is my opinion. And, you know.
No, you're spot on, Kevin. The Simpsons. Yeah. How many episodes have they had over the last, 20 plus years? They won't ever talk about all the wild speculations and potentials this could happen that didn't come true. It's only this proves that, not the 99 other things that didn't happen they wildly speculated could have that didn't come true.
Yeah.
Well, there you go.
So there you go. And I'm going to point out, Rick, I know that you did not expect to have a show with Joseph and I on it where we agreed on everything.
No, I knew eventually you guys would come together and find common ground. I knew it. And as for predictions, I'm not going to make any more because the few that I have made always put me out on a limb, and I'm never comfortable being out there. All I can say is, gentlemen, thank you so much for participating in this conversation tonight. I think it has been worthwhile. We'll continue to cover this story, and around here, we'll keep on doing our best to stick to the facts and get everybody closer to the truth. And that will continue tomorrow night right here on the Maverick News Channel, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Catch y'all on the flip side.
This has been a Maverick Multimedia Productions.